Howdy there, folks, and welcome back to a impromptu and unplanned stream here live on Twitch and YouTube. It's me, Fluent Code. That's it. Yeah, we're back. We've had a little bit of a break. I've been feeling quite under the weather, and unfortunately, the stream has suffered because of it. But I am feeling much better now. Back to normal, almost, in fact. And so, because of that, and because it's a bank holiday here in the UK, it's Monday, we are up and ready to go. Let me just get everything lined up a little bit. Basically wanted to do maybe a sort of daytime stream for you guys. Get out there with a number of these models and just try and bang out a good chunk of the army. So we are going to be doing our normal style of terrible painting, where we just sort of really have to trust the process. And I'm going to be taking a whole bunch of these miniatures, and you're going to think that they're looking awful until we finally get to a point where they start to actually look okay. At which point I'll go, nah, I told you so, maybe. Or I'll let you guys do it back to me if they turn out to be rubbish. You've all seen the test model by now. Hopefully most of you have seen the test model by now. If anybody is new to the chat, check out the Discord. In the Warhammer section, we've got some details of what we're doing for our second edition army project. This is it's going to be a little bit of a long running thing, hopefully, where we I say long running thing. It's taken me 30 years to get to this stage with these bloody models. So, if it takes me a few more streams to actually get them finished, then so be it. But yeah, the idea is that we're going to... That one's got a very, very nasty mould line that I missed. Oh, that's awful. What a terrible place to get like a double mould line. That's really awful. And I know it's not a recast because, well, I mean, it is technically a recast, but it was a recast done by Games Workshop on their made-to-order. I missed out on this model first time round, and I could never find it at a reasonable price anywhere. And then a few years ago, I mean, when I say a few years ago, I could be talking 10, maybe. I don't know. How long have they been doing made-to-order for? Probably not that long. I picked it up from Games Workshop, but it's got this terrible double mould line on it that I'd never noticed before. Certainly never noticed when I was cleaning all the mould lines off it. You can see I've done quite a lot of filing on this to actually get rid of them. Now, if any of you are worried that this suspiciously looks like a technique for slap chop, turn off now. No, I'm joking. It's not. We're not actually doing slap chop. We are using contrast paints, but we use them... I don't know, it's kind of weird. I'm only using the contrast paints on this because the tone of blue is better than any regular paint blue that I've found. And then I mute it down with regular paints anyway. So yeah, by all means, it does look a lot like the start of a slap chop technique, but it does. I mean, I'm not dissing slap chop. I love slap chop. Slap chop has served me really well when it comes to getting a bunch of D&D figures together. For this project though, I've decided that I'd like to do a bit more of a traditional style of paint. Now you will notice that I have gone for a slightly more upbeat music as well, because we're going to play a little bit on the 90s theme for now. We are heading back to the 90s with our miniatures, our music, our setting, everything. So yeah. If you've got any happy nostalgia that you want to post in the chat, by all means go ahead and do so. Tell us your favourite memories of the 90s. Tell us that you weren't born in the 90s and make us feel all really old, whatever your choice. So basically today, what my plan is to get a bunch of these miniatures to the blue stage. Ooh, what's the blue stage, you ask? Well, the blue stage is get a bunch of miniatures to this point where we have a really nice, cool looking, actually quite second edition appropriate blue. There is another stage of highlighting to go on there as well, and possibly not just another stage of highlighting, but a stage of highlighting and an edge highlight as well. I want to get that blue down on a bunch of these models so that when I look at the ye oldie board of miniatures, and I'll tell you what that is literally an old tea tray full of miniatures. This one, I want to see a sea of blue everywhere. Look at that. Spin, spin, spin. Yep, I want to see a sea of blue ready for the other colours to go on it. So I am going to try and spend this session getting a bunch of these miniatures ready for that blue, if not actually having the blue applied, because there's some gorgeous old miniatures that really need to get some paint on them after all this time. I do love this second edition range of Eldar. There was just something about that time scale, that sort of everyone's a punk rocker kind of time scale. You know, Eldar were punk rockers, Marines were punk rockers, Gene Stealers were punk rockers, Orcs were punk rockers. It was like everybody's a punk rocker, and it really was quite a good time, I think, in the hobby. Oh dear, we've got an ad break. So we're going to splurge our white all over these boys, and then so we'll get a whole bunch of them ready for the blue, and then we're going to apply it. Now, I don't know on some of these models how well that's going to look. I haven't actually had an opportunity to plan some of these models exactly, which might be a good use of our time, if I'm honest with you. We have blue, we have yellow, we have bone. That's the three main colours that we have to deal with. In our applications on these models, that's the colour scheme that we've chosen. We have blue, yellow and bone. Now I think that all of the technology that they carry ought to be bone coloured. That's kind of what we're toying at, with the weapons being a sort of natural bone coloured finish. That's probably what my intention was, even though I almost find it impossible to read my own intention with these models at times. Oh, that's a bit too heavy there. But they don't care. We're the ones rising, fists in the Now, these guys do have their little leather jackets, which I'm going to have to figure out something, and I'm thinking I might go grey. On quite often on the Top colour schemes, like their jet bike riders are shown wearing like a grey like overcoat over their regular blue armour, and I'm thinking that might look quite nice, and I might try and feed that through to like the Farseer as well. Although I'm not sure. Maybe I will, because the Scouts are going to have a sort of greenish colour, which is only natural. They are Scouts at the end of the day, so it seems logical that they would wear a sort of greeny camouflagey type colour. But the rest of them, there's no saying that they have to be in green. So grey would work just as well, I think. How are you seeing that? Is that on screen enough for it? Yeah, I think we should be okay. Now, I had thought about doing some magnetising here, but I'm gonna leave them without magnets for the moment. The reason being is that this army list is planned just for 2nd edition, with the hope that we can expand these guys out over time by adding models, but also adding editions, if that makes sense. So currently this army list is, and I do have an army list here, this is our Guardian Citizen Levy army list, which somebody on stream the other day brilliantly came up with the name of Citizen Kane, as in the Eldar god Kane. I thought was very clever. So this army list is currently built to approximately 2,000 points of 2nd edition, which, believe it or not, is actually quite a small army, because 2nd edition wasn't very big armies. Just the way it works. So my intention is as we develop this army from here on out, I will add different almost detachments that then make it up to be a legal 3rd edition army, for example. I'm going to just see if I can knock a bit more of that off on here. 3rd edition, the army will probably see some aspect warriors, which it hasn't done as yet. For some reason that has got quite a textured surface on there. I think there must have been a problem with some paint stripping in the past on that one. Yeah, so I think next on the list will be a couple more vehicles and some aspect warriors. And we will hopefully be able to make this into a 3rd edition legal list with the addition of those. And then potentially for 4th edition we'll add in an army of the dead. So by that point they were Wraith Lords rather than Dreadnoughts, and Wraith Guard. I know it may seem like a weird way of building an army, but in terms of setting goals for the channel, for the stream, it seems to work in my head. I might be completely wrong. You can see there, I was just starting. Oh no, I'm doing this off stream again, typically. Seeing there, I was just starting to do the cutout for a magnet that never went ahead. Right. I'm going to leave the bottom of them as they are. I don't think the bottoms of them need painting. You'll never see them. We'll paint those little bits there because you can see them. So what I'm going to do is, to save you having to watch just endless white paint, I'm going to get this this squad of scouts done as well, and then we're going to go and wash the brush. We'll give that a chance to dry out as well, and then we'll switch to some of our blue and we'll get painting blue while we wait for this to dry out, and then we'll switch up again later on and grab this brush once it's dry, apply a bit more white to some models, come back, work on the blue over and over again until we've got all the blue done. Now I don't know how long that realistically is going to take, and I also don't know how much stamina I've got in me, because I have been feeling under the weather. Feeling better now, but fingers crossed we can last out however long we plan this stream. So I don't actually know how long we're going to go, but let's see what we've got in us, shall we? These scouts, I do love these scout miniatures. They are so much nicer in my mind than the newer ones. The newer ones are better models, by far, undeniably better models. However, I don't think they're nicer models. Does that make any sense? I know it seems weird, but does that make sense? Yeah, I don't know. I just think that they're such nice, clean, simple models. Beautifully simple, these scouts. You got pretty much the same sort of armour as the rest of the dudes, just with the addition of a change in the style of helmet and a cloak. Although that one does need his weapon fixing, because that's just not quite straight, is it? That's a little bit better. I can remember once I fielded my Eldar army back when I was young and unknowing of the etiquettes and norms of how to build an army list that your opponent didn't immediately hate. And I took and abused warp spiders to a great extent for a tournament that we were playing at our local games workshop. And as you can imagine, that went down like a proverbial lead balloon. The problem is back then is that Games Workshop had a very weird, and they've always had a bit of a weird method to, or a weird take on the idea of balance, and that is what is new is powerful, and what is old is soon to be replaced with something newer. That's literally their sort of way of looking at things, is that if it's new it should be powerful and therefore win against things, and if it's old then it's the same thing but due for replacement, and so it will lose against something that's newer. And Eldar was sort of something that bucked that trend throughout. Well, to be honest with you, that trend didn't really appear until later editions, third and not even third, fourth edition and sort of onwards, I think. Yeah, but Eldar were extremely powerful, and the Warp Spiders were just such a weird unit. They had so much utility. You know, you had high mobility, reasonable armor, and just the ability to, if it catches the wrong model at the wrong time, or you know, just purely on the luck of a dice, that was it. You were going to really suffer for that unit. I don't feel that has ever really been duplicated since then. Everything has sort of had a counter, but back then Warp Spiders were the only real thing that could counter Warp Spiders was having Chaos Demons in your army list with the ability to possess them whenever they jumped. You know, and even then it was luck of the dice. Right, as I say, we are 2 more models from this scout squad, and then we'll get started with some actual paint. Look, he's got a bit of a droopy gun as well. That's a bit better. So most of the like painted heavier metal and what have you shows these guys with green cloaks, and actually I really do like that, so we will be going with the same sort of colour scheme on these. We'll be looking at keeping the helmets blue apart from the little face areas, which will have a hint of yellow. The main armour is going to be blue, the coats are going to be green, and the weapons are going to be bone in colour. And then the cloaks will be green, which is going to be nice. I think that is going to be quite a nice colour scheme on these scouts. This one is actually quite awkward, these little crouching ones, because their hood being up over their head puts all of their face into a massive, massive shadow. And on this side, you can't even barely see what's in there. So we will get a little splodge of colour in there, but it will be quite hard to actually make out what's happening. Okay, this is the last one. Right, so we have our Farseer, we have our scouts, we have a weapons platform. So that's what we're going to do in this little phase here. But before that, I'm going to go and rinse out my brush. Unfortunately, the paint pot that I keep here by my desk is not sufficient for rinsing out one of these dry brushes when you've just absolutely butchered it. These things get so clogged up with paint, even if they don't look it. So they do need a proper rinse. Right, I'll be back in just a moment. Please bear with me. There we go, folks. I'm not actually sure how much lifespan one of these brushes can realistically put up with, because it is quite hard usage on them. But they were actually, this is part of a, I think it was a $2.99, $3.99 Lidl set. So yeah, that's if it only lasts a little while, that's long enough. Right, first model first. Now I've got this Farseer, and I'm unsure about what colours to paint him. Because I feel like he should be wearing an undersuit of armour, which would be feet, hands, and that's it. You can't really see anything else. So hands here, feet. I think that it would be a good idea to tie this inner robe in with the same colour. And I think it would actually be a good idea to tie these sleeves in the same colour as well. So then he will be wearing this like almost like a waist overcoat, so it doesn't, the sleeves are part of a lower level. So we'll do that, and then his helm will be in yellow like the rest of the army, with possibly red gem eyes. That's what I'm thinking, as well as a few little studded gems here and there. So I think that probably works for us. We'll paint this overcoat in the same sort of grey as what we've been talking about for the weapons crew and the Viper rider, because the Viper crew has a sort of little overcoat on as well. We'll paint that in the same sort of grey. Leo, indeed I am. It's a bit of a new experience for me. It's a bank holiday here in the UK. Yeah, I'm giving it a go because I've been offline for a couple of days. So I popped up on Discord, I popped up on TwitX or whatever it's called nowadays. But yeah, I'm here. I'm live. How are you? Right, let's pop our miniatures to one side so that we can actually paint. You're on a lunch break. Oh dear, you're working. Sorry, Leo, I'm not actually sure if I've ever asked where you're from. Feel free to tell me to mind my own business if you don't want to say it. But I'm not actually sure, not aware of where in the world you're from. Because obviously a belated lunch break. Germany. Okay, so well, you're a little bit late for lunch then. I thought Germany observed much the same sort of bank holidays as us. Yeah, that is quite a late lunch then, fella. Right. Let's see then. Let's hope and pray that this works. Now, some of this detail I'm not going to be able to avoid hitting with the. This is. We always have one late May. We always have a late May bank holiday. I don't know what it's actually in aid of, apart from the fact that it's a bank holiday. So, at some point, I imagine it would have just been so that the banks could get their filing done or something, rather than it actually celebrating anything. But yes, from tomorrow I will be back to my normal schedule, which will be 8 o'clock UK time. Hello, Queen of Sabotage. Welcome back to the chat. Haven't seen you for a little while. How are you? Lovely to see you back again. How is sunny Dortmund or wherever it is? Crazy time at work. Yeah, I'll bet. Excellent. I think it's safe to say that summer is actually properly just around the corner. It's still not quite here. We still get a mix of a lovely sunny day, and then 10 minutes later it's raining, and you're like, oh, okay. But it is showing signs that it's gonna just give up the rain soon, and then we're gonna get a lovely summer. I'm just giving you my patented Fluent Code weather forecast here. It's tinged mostly with optimism. I hate the colour choice that I've just made. I love the blue, don't get me wrong, that's not the issue. But the issue is to make the sleeve and the arm the same colour. Yeah, we normally have May Day, and then we have the Spring Bank holiday at the end of May. The late May bank holiday. It's all right. We'll freelancer, yeah, so you don't really get too much of a choice, to be fair. It's work or don't get paid. What do you do for work, Leo? I've never really asked you that. I get the sense that you're something in the realms of graphic design or something like that. I think I can live with the colour choice there. Oh, okay, that's interesting. I think once the other colours are on, it will start to break it up a little bit. Also, because this is the leader, there is quite a lot of detail on this model. And so I'll use that detail as an opportunity to break up some of these similar colours sat next to each other. I do always try to follow the sort of rule about spacing colours out. So here we will make sure that that gem is painted, that those arm bangles are painted. There's not so much I can do about down at the bottom here. But we can vary how we... Yamato, welcome to the stream. Thank you very much for the raid. How was your stream? What were you streaming? Right, let's have a little look. Let's pop that in there as well. And then that's going to be our blue done on this model. They tell us to hush, keep our voices down, but we've got a fire. Yamato, thank you very much for the follow as well. I really do appreciate it. Like I say, feel free to jump in with what you were painting or what you were streaming. Mini painting as well. What are you painting, Yamato? Yeah, I'm doing really good, thank you. Just enjoying a nice relaxed bank holiday. Just come back from the cinema where we saw the live action Lilo and Stitch with my little one. And so I figured that as I've been off air for a couple of days, I'm going to go ahead and do a daytime stream. Yeah, bank holiday, love them. Right, excellent. The truth be heard. Every step forward is a spoken word. We're not backing down, no, we're here to stay. A brighter tomorrow starts today. Skank to the rhythm, let the truth be heard. Every step forward is a Conquest minis. We're not backing down, no, we're here to stay. No, this is the second edition Farseer. Quite similar to. There was a special Necromunda Farseer who was released with some Fire Dragon bodyguards, believe it or not. He had a staff. Stimhead, thank you very much for the question. Welcome to the channel. Welcome in as part of the raid. But yes, he had two Fire Dragon bodyguards. Yes, Stimhead, I am definitely stuck in the 90s when it comes to Warhammer 40k. So this is a second edition army project. I've already done the swirl where I've showed you all the miniatures that are getting done as part of this this project. But yeah. it does help that Necromunda is one of my my favourite game systems ever. Unfortunately, the Farseer from then was released a bit later on during the Fnatic era. It was the tactical rock for the which is kind of when everything went all really skinny and scrawny, unfortunately, which I wasn't a big fan of that era. I hadn't actually realised quite how much mesh was on this guy's mesh armour. He's got a lot of chainmail on him and not a huge amount of armour. So Yamato, Conquest minis, what's... best edition of Necromunda. Best edition of Necromunda. It's you see, I do really like the original rules, but I feel that the addition of the house lists in the reprinted, am I getting that right? Am I getting it right? Where they introduced where certain houses had access to certain weapons. I'm sure that was in the reprinted rules. But I'm actually unable to check because unfortunately my original source... yes, I think that was it. My original source book did what all the original source books did and fell apart. And when I got the updated ones, I went, oh, the source book's included, and threw it away, not realising that they'd changed it. Yamato, absolutely, please do feel free to pop a link, Instagram, Discord, anything like that in the chat. You are more than welcome to post a link to show us what you've been working on. I don't know if I'll be able to view that, but I will try. Oh, that's very cool. Where have I seen that before? Where have I seen that before? I can't remember. Yeah, see, I had the original Citadel Journal rules for the Ashwaste Nomads. They were very cool, but in a very much a basic gangers that live... They didn't change their stats or anything. They were just basic gangers who happened to live in the wastes, and the only real difference that they had was that you had to pick from a specific set of heavy weapons, because they were considered that every time they came to the hive they would blow their way in, which I felt was possibly a little bit of a bold choice. I feel that would soon get tiresome to the people who have to patch up the hive, and then they're just going to hunt you down. But thank you very much for the follow. Very much appreciate that. And do feel free to drop by to chat about old Warhammer at any time that you like. I'm a big fan of all the old things. I won't submit to the argument that everything old is good and everything new is terrible. But yeah, I am still very much a fan of all the old miniatures and the like. Well, Stim, you'll find yourself very, very welcome here. So, yeah, no problem. So, are those Yamato? Are those miniatures? Are they part of a range? Are they part of a game? Are they for anything in particular, or are they just somebody sculpted some cool miniatures and put them out there for? Do you buy them whole? Are they 3D printed? Tell me. Okay, they're part of a game. That's cool. I do like it when miniatures are released for a reason rather than just being released as miniatures, because that then gives even the coolest miniatures a purpose for being. Right, let's have a look. So that's pretty cool. Most of that is leather jacket. Yeah, we'll pop that on like so. Yep, absolutely, you're dead right. Everyone needs to find their tribe. Okay, this guy's got almost as much. Sorry, that big guy is just rank and file. Wow, that's quite impressive. Right, so as we've had a couple of newbies in on, these are mine. These are mine. This is my test miniature that I have been working towards. There's an ad. But yeah, that's the test miniature that we're working towards. And these are mine, and I've had them for nearly 30 years. So it's high time that they were actually painted. Yeah, my second edition codex, I've actually got two of them. The first one is the one that I originally had, and then that has taken so much damage over the years that I went, okay, it's time to get myself another copy as well. Yamato, thank you very much for dropping by. It's very much appreciated. Thank you very much for bringing all your raiders with you as well. I do hope you have a good sleep, and I hope that you'll be able to catch us another time round. Once I get a chance, I'll drop you a follow, and we'll see if we can check out what you do at some point. But yeah, thanks for now, and I hope you have a good rest. So, as I say, the main intention of this stream is to get a lot of blue done. I've had a couple of days off where I haven't been feeling great, and every time I come into the hobby room, I see these guys sat here on their board, undercoated, looking at me longfully, saying, paint me, paint me. And I figure at least if I get the blue on everything, that will then be a pretty good yes, yeah. Those were not necessarily the good old days. They were slightly weird in terms of lore, but I feel that slightly weird is definitely better than some of the grimdark at all costs. How many points I have utterly no idea. This is a very small fraction of the army. So what we're painting is 2,000 points. I'll show you. I'll pop that to one side. You're just going to get the top-down view for now of what we're painting as part of this this battle force. So these are just guardians. The aim of this army, so this is going to be just shy of, what did I put together? Was it 1,000 or was it 2,000? I can't really remember. I'll have a look at the no, it's fine, absolutely fine. I'll have a look at the army list that I put together. I decided that the army list that I wanted to do, the first part of it was just going to be Guardians, because I've had it in my head that I wanted to do a Guardian themed army for the longest time. So on the stream the other day, somebody very cleverly came up with the because I'd pitched it as a citizen levy. In the codex, it describes every Eldar as being able to be pressed into service as a guardian when needed by the craft world, and so somebody came up with the idea that the army should be called Citizen Kane, as in the Eldar god Kane. You know, little dad joke sort of thing. No, my plan is to use I want to build the army as a 2nd edition army and then add on to it enough models to turn it into a 3rd edition army, and then add on to it enough models to turn it into a 4th edition army, making it legal at every step. That's the goal, that's the aim, that's what I'd like to try and achieve. Whether or not I get round to it, not sure. Pretty happy that I should be able to finish this stage, and then finally my 30-year-old Eldar will be an army that I can go, yeah, cool, even if it is just for 2nd edition rules. I've got a couple of people that I can coerce into coming and playing 2nd edition with me, so that's probably all I need. I've got models from later editions and bits and pieces that I've added on over the years. Don't really like them, but some of them work, some of them are really nice. Some of the 6th edition, is it 6th? No, not 6th edition. Oh, I can't remember. So yeah, the aim is to simply get some blue down today, and then maybe we can get some group shots of the army up on Discord, and it will give me the motivation to carry on. Evening, Mouldy? Evening? It's only 3:30. Evening? God. It all goes well. Thank you very much. And yourself? Recovered after the drama on Saturday? The stress? Yeah, I'm not sure. I think the scouts, they're gonna go in green. They'll work quite nicely. A lot of the artwork or heavy metal for a Laytok. So the idea of the army is to get them to this sort of stage. Yellow and blue, lots of yellow and blue. But the jackets should hopefully be a really nice counterpoint. The scouts, I think, will be green, and the rest of the army, so seers and guardians and other people that wear jackets and what have you, will be in a sort of light grey, I think. It's mostly what the heavy metal team painted them in, for people like jet bike riders and Viper pinion mount people. So that's what I'm hoping to do. Very good, very good. Excellent. Well, I hope you had a good time with it. I did enjoy working on the one shot, and yeah, despite what I was saying in the chat and what have you, it's not discouraged me. I will just look at it in a different point of view for the next one, and maybe use those tools to create an adventure in a slightly different manner. There we go, right. So I've got 2 squads of these scouts, and the other one I did the fairly popular conversion, which I actually think looks rather cool. I do like that one. Although he's looking very washed out, he's going to need a good old highlight, isn't he? Not actually sure what that banging was, but I think it might have been my child doing something terrible. yeah, I mean, if you can't learn from it, then you know, it's whilst it might have been a good session, it doesn't actually sort of add anything to your tool chest for the next one. Must try and remember to try and get those little bits. And have I missed any of those little bits? I'm going to assume that they're like vents. So yeah, I've got a I don't actually have an awful lot of greens. I've got warg flesh, which is a sort of modern day take on, well, I'm assuming it's like a modern day take on Goblin Green, but you know, we will see once we start to get some on the model. What I might do is I might start it off with yeah, see, I've missed it on there as well. Let's go back and add those in, because like I say, I feel like there's some form of vent. Because they are a bit of a recurring theme throughout the Eldar models. Oddly enough, they didn't include it on the... This is all going to be in bone, like the rest of the equipment. They didn't include it on the plastic Guardians. Is there a favourite campaign for the Eldar you enjoy? It was more the fact that I felt that it was a very throwaway line in the codex. And when you looked at the army lists that they gave you in the codex, the second edition Eldar army list, I know everybody talks about how Chaos gives you the option of, you can have a Chaos Space Marine army list, you can have a Chaos Demons army list, you can have a Cultists army list, Beastmen, things like that. Genestealer cult armies. You know, in the back of the Tyranid Codex, you had Genestealer cults, an almost completely separate army. For the Eldar, everybody saw Eldar Harlequins. Nobody looked at it and went, wow, you can properly separate down those the Eldar into different factions. So you had Eldar, Craftworld Eldar, and you had Harlequins. But then you also had Exodites, which literally have never appeared in the rules again. Eldar Exodites have never had rules, apart from 2nd edition. You also had Eldar Pirates. You could functionally make an army of Eldar Pirates in 2nd edition. And it was such a it was such a varied army list that I felt that it was a bit of a crime yeah, that they never got more mentions of the fact. And then I looked at it and I went, wow, you could actually make a themed army based purely around Guardians and Guardian adjacent models. So, for example, this army will feature Guardians, Scouts, War Walkers, Jet Bikes, Vipers, Falcons, heavy weapons platforms, and that's it. But you can make a full-on army out of that. It's got you know, fast attack, it's got heavy support, it's got all the things that you could really need. It's just that you don't have any of the unique. Essentially, it's an Imperial Guard army made from Eldar Guardians, and I just thought that would be quite a nice thing to try and do. So it's not that I'm specifically basing it around a campaign or anything like that. I just thought that it would be quite a nice Eldari Guard, yes. Yeah, no, exactly. I thought, you know, they're cool models. I love the Guardian model. Yeah, exactly like a Craft World PDF. It's exactly that. It's a case of the Craft World is being attacked. Call your banners. You know, so the mayor of whatever area goes, okay, every citizen under my command. And then suddenly they're all going out and grabbing their mesh armor, and you know, and it's very similar to how the old like rogue trader Eldar, like the musicians. Well, the musicians were actually supposed to be like Eldar musicians who were doing their part in the in the Guardian levies, to almost in a sort of like earn your citizenship kind of way, like in Starship Troopers. That's a Militarum. Like that one. That's quite good. But yeah, it's only supposed to be a sort of thematic army. It doesn't confer any benefits. There's no special rules to it. It's just purely an army made up out of the Guardian type models in the Codex, of which there's actually loads. And the beautiful thing about second edition was there were actually loads of bloody models for them as well. And I have got all of the Guardian models. Have I got all of them? I think I've got all of them. I might be missing one or two. And I was actually very lucky to stumble upon a community that 3D prints the plastic arms and weapons. The like proper ones that have been scanned in. So for the body, you know, the torso and leg Guardians, I can actually build I'm not sure, was it Path of the Guardian? I thought it was Path of the Warrior, and I thought that was specifically tied into the I thought that was specifically tied into the like Warrior's Path, you know, the Aspect Warrior up to Exarch. I'll have to have a look. I don't think I've ever actually read any of the Eldar books, mostly because I think they're mostly written by Gav Thorpe, and I don't really like him as an author. He's got a slightly funny style that I don't necessarily enjoy. Got to be quite careful here, because I'm going to very soon pick up a tiny little bit of model that I wanted to paint yellow, because that is all that's going to get to be yellow on this model, is that tiny bit in there around his eye. Leo, you take care. I wish you the best with your work. I hope you get it all done nice and easily. Fingers crossed 2 days. You have it done in 4 hours or less, and then it will give you some time to work on something else. Right, now to split it up a little bit, I've got to paint this bad boy, and I don't really know how I'm going to do it. I think maybe just keep it kind of simple and paint blue and yellow. But what about these bits? Those bits should really be yellow, shouldn't they? Or maybe because they're part of the equipment, they could be a bone colour like that. Because the gun is going to be bone coloured. Just I'm going to have to be careful while I paint this, because otherwise I'm going to end up with it all over my hands. And nobody wants blue finger. So I'm still not sure what colour I'm going to paint those nozzles. Nozzles is a decent enough word for those things, isn't it? That's what they are. They're sort of weird power thrust. What? I don't know. I think what we can safely say is we're going to paint all of this base bit blue, because I've literally just decided that's what we're going to do. So we're going to paint all of this base bit blue, including the armoured cowling along the front. I had and sold all my Battlefleet Gothic. I had everything apart from Orc from the original release of the game. I didn't get the sort of, again, the Fanatic era where they added some extra bits. So I had Eldar, Chaos and Imperial fleets, including Space Marines. And then I basically got out of the hobby for years, and they sat there for ages, and then I sold them, and then a few years later I went, oh, shouldn't really have done that. Battlefleet is pretty much the only hobby system that I sold out of. I'm not sure why, to be honest with you, but I do miss it. It was, in my mind, one of the best game systems that they ever came up with. I did very much enjoy Battlefleet Gothic. I thought it was a really nice difference to anything that they had in the range at that time, and I don't think they've replicated it since. Ah, well, if you've still got the books and dice, you can always proxy. There are a lot of actually really nice spaceship minis out there, especially if you have access to a 3D printer. And whilst I did love the original minis, some of the new ones that people have produced are even better, because they're not limited to the design constraints that the studio had at the time, or they're not limited to resin injection molding and plastic injection molding. No, or in fact they won't go through a car window in an emergency. But then if you've got your second edition Chaos Dreadnought, what do you need extra weight for? Just, pick that up. Yes, the Planet Killer model was a bit of a chonky boy. Right, this is not our final blue. This blue isn't even its final form. Just because a couple of people have asked me before, that blue doesn't match up the sample model. No, it doesn't. So the sample model, what I did was I painted this blue on because I just adored the colour on this blue. This is Talassar blue from Contrast Range. Is just such a stunning blue colour. Do you know what? I'm just going to make sure I get the very edge of this, and then I'm not going to bother anymore, because nobody's going to look underneath it, and if I do, I'll tell them to put the damn model down. But it does come out a bit blotchy. It's not the nicest of colours. So what we end up doing, we're mostly using Citadel. I have one army painter paint, and that's Demonic Yellow as a highlight for this. So what I did was we've gone Talassar blue all over the model, and then I came back with a really, really watered down coat of Macragge blue and painted it all over. And it works almost like a reverse contrast in that it still sinks to the bottom and provides a bit of shade, but because it's a base paint, it's a lot, it sits there a lot. It's hard to describe it, but it goes into the recesses quite nicely, and it worked. So that's what we're doing to reproduce it, and we have just about managed to reproduce it. Here there's obviously a couple more stages of highlights to do on these guys, but yeah, that blue is a reproducible blue, so I'm happy that we can carry on doing it across the whole army, without having to mix too much stuff together or anything like that. Right. Oh no, says everyone. Oh no. Yeah, I was very pleased with how the gems came out. And before anyone questions, I have realised that I've painted his helmet blue. That is intentional. It was my intention to paint this blue. The reason being is that is how the Latok colour scheme originally went for their scouts. All of their armour and their helmets were in blue, apart from a tiny little bit on their faceplate. But yes, thank you, Stimhead. I was really, really pleased with how those gems came out. I've had a lot of practice painting that era of gems, but it was really, really nice to get them to come out good on a era appropriate model. Oh, okay. Well, the intention is to get loads of blue done, but it's very boring. No, I'm not bored yet. We will power through. We'll power through the boredom and try and get another good chunk of these models blued. What I might actually do is I might have a look at something special like the War Walker next. Because it'd be good to put a larger model on the table. I don't know whether that War Walker will even fit on my painting handle, and even if it does fit on the painting handle, is it a good idea to put a big metal War Walker on this scrawny little handle? Well, tune in next time, folks, when we determine whether it was a good idea or not, in the very, very best 90s episodic cartoon adventures of the War Walker wasn't quite as bad as the Marines, or you know, it wasn't a dreadnought. It wasn't anything as quite as bad as that. But it is still quite a big chunk of metal, to be fair. Now, I'm starting slightly to regret my decision to base these prior to spraying. Whilst I like the fact that the base will all be base coated the same as the rest of the model, I feel that it's possibly going to be getting in the way a little bit. Although it does maybe enhance the fact that these guys are in the terrain rather than just have been placed upon it. Hi Morgan, welcome to the chat. How are you? Have I got everything? This guy is mostly coat and gun rather than anything else, so he's going to be nice and easy to paint. I do love the name, by the way, Morgan Free Guy. It's a good one. I did use something very similar to that in a D&D campaign for an unrelated character, as it were. He's very much storyline, or she, Morgana, Morgana Free Woman. Morgana Free Woman. Yeah, that's what I went with. I'm sure that was it. A very much adventure adjacent character, wasn't part of the sort of regular crew. So I figured that it wouldn't actually matter. I can name her what I like, and then it's up to the DM to try and deal with her. Yeah, that's kind of the aim of it, really. So these guys would be called back by their craft world. The Rangers would come flooding back when they detect a threat, and then they'd all sort of line up to defend their home world. The citizenry would put down their pens and styluses and musical instruments and stuff like that, and take up their arms to defend their home. And the thing about a Latok is a Latok specialise in rangers, so they have like super rangers called pathfinders, who are like even more rangery than rangers are. And so obviously not in second edition, they were a later, they came along in third, but they were like super scouts. So you'd even have forces of those guys sort of coming back to the craft world to help out in times of need. And I just thought it was a really cool concept, quite a cool idea that, you know, nobody had played on, or nobody even mentioned the fact that you could do a whole army of Guardians. You didn't need Aspect Warriors, you didn't need Harlequins, you didn't need Wraithguard, that sort of thing. Yeah, in a way. Oh dear, I'm going to have to go and get myself a drink in a moment. Okay, we've got one more of these guys to do. We'll get him finished, and then we're going to just take a short little break just to refresh. And then we'll come along and either we'll base coat a couple more, which is we go back to the boring, put white on models, and then we can come along and do some more blue, or we could revisit these guys and put the McCrag blue on them. But to be honest, I think I would prefer to stick with my original plan, which was to get us the Gyrinx. It didn't. It was a Rogue Trader thing until they brought it back for the stupid your brain, or whatever her name is. Is that what I'm thinking? But no, the Gyrinx didn't particularly get any mention at all in second edition. That was the... In fact, I think that was the only mention of it that I'm happy to acknowledge. After that, it just sort of became a bit of a meme, really. You know, oh, when are you going to bring the Gyrinx back? It's like, well, never.
The truth be heard. Every step forward is a spoken word. We're not backing down, no, we're here to stay. A brighter tomorrow starts today. Skank to the rhythm, let the truth be heard. Every step forward is...
Imagine this is mittens at home. Yeah, quite possibly. Quite possibly. I'm not actually sure whether... Because the Gyrinx isn't a combat pet, is it? It's a... you know, emotional support critter. Okay.
Trumpets blazing under neon light, colors swirling like a dizzy parade. This is the moment where memories are made. Hey now, feel the groove. Skanking feet, they gotta move. Dance and laugh till the morning glow. Scare, carnival steam.
Right, this guy is nearly done. Must remember to do his other hand.
Stealing the show. Grab your partner, spin around.
And then just down here and done.
Life's a ride, so take a chance. Under the stars, let's dance, dance, dance.
Right, there we go. That is our first little batch. First little batch of blue done. There you go, guys. Share the spotlight. You're all cool. Yes, you're all lovely models. We love to have you here. Except you guys. Don't like them ones too much. Right, I'm just going to rinse my brushes out. I'm going to take a very, very short break and I will be back. I'm going to leave the camera up because these guys are probably vaguely more interesting than my Be Right Back screen. So please do bear with me and I'll be back in a moment.
Rumbling like a freight train ride, trumpets blasting fire in the dead of night. Skank to the rhythm, let your worries all slide. It's a brass heavy battle, come and pick your side.
Clash of the grooves, feel the rhythm collide.
Drum ones wailing as the dance floor ignites.
Two voices harmonize in a fiery stride.
In this 90s sky showdown, we take pride. Take pride.
The guitar's chopping like a mushy in the air. Saxophone screaming with the rebel's flair. The drummer's heart pounding, no room to spare. This groove's contagious like you wouldn't dare. Pick it up, the tempo's climbing.
The horns are a war cry, perfectly timing.
Male and female voices intertwined and shining.
Feel the rhythm, grab you, it's electrifying.
Clash of the grooves, feel the rhythm collide.
Trombones wailing as the dance floor ignites.
Two voices harmonize in a fiery stride.
In this 90s sky showdown, we take pride.
Right, folks. Sorry if any of you have abandonment issues that that will be bringing back traumatic moments and what have you for you. Right. Now, what are our options here? Our options are we can either mix up some McCrag blue to add to these guys.
Voices harmonize in a fiery stride.
Or we can do another squad. We can do something else. We've got a war walker over there. We've got another weapons platform, another scout squad, and we have a full-on guardian squad. These ones are the good guts with shuriken catapults. Except none of these, because these are modern junk. These stick magazine catapults, I don't agree with them. I refuse to recognise this as a shuriken catapult. If it doesn't have a drum magazine, like these guys, then is it really a shuriken catapult? Well, no, in my opinion, it's not. So we even have some of the plastic Guardians that have been converted to carry the older style drum magazine catapults, which I think is quite fitting, quite appropriate to the army. So what we're going to do is we're gonna switch it up. We're going to pop these guys to one side. These are now have some blue on them, which enables us to go, look, Ma, I painted something. We're going to pop these to one side. What is the box old mate is holding? Which old mate? This guy. This one. That is something to do with the weapons platform. These two were the crew for the heavy weapons platform, so that's either ammunition or a control box. Look, it's got a funky plug there. Probably there's a cable that he pulls out. So these guys control the weapons platform between them, because otherwise the weapons platform has no discernible controls or anything. It is just a, I'm going to have to glue that weapon in there, otherwise it's just a floating weapons platform. I did in my misspent youth, ill-advised as it was, I did convert one of these. I don't think I've got the model anymore, unfortunately. But the conversion was to take one of these guys and remodel this to be a carrier for the weapon, so that the weapon was then mounted on his shoulder like a Space Marine Devastator. And then I decided that that wasn't good enough, that he still needed to float around like a little cinch sorcerer on a disc. So I took one of these platforms and I sawed it, bearing in mind that these are solid metal. I sawed it in half, straight through the middle, extended it out and added a plasticard spacer in there, and then did the same with this. So I made like a full width one. Just, yeah, it was very much a kind of proper punk type look going on. But unfortunately, I don't know where that, and I use air quotes here because it was kind of terrible. I used the conversion quite loosely. Right, we're going to pop these guys to one side. We are going to do some work on a War Walker. Ta-da! That's right, folks. It's a War Walker. I love this model. This is probably the model that turned me on to the idea of doing this Citizen Levy. Just this double scatter laser walking weapons platform. Get out of there, you. Get out of there. That's all right. There's plenty of gems to go round. Everyone gets a gem. Yes, there's a lot going on, which I'm quite looking forward to doing this one. So first things first, we are going to break out our white paint and get scrawling as we did before. Where is our white paint? That's our white. Well, fingers crossed, Stim. It's a lovely model. I do love this model, and like I say, it is what really got me going on the idea. Just the idea of these things just clomp behind a field of Guardians just just walking around, just leveling these twin scatter lasers or twin las cannons at something big, and just turning around and just going, yeah, okay, problem solved. Yeah. So, Stim, you do strike me as somebody who it sounds very similar to myself in that your appreciation of the hobby goes back a good few years. Are you working on anything? Are you modelling? Are you painting? Are you what's your what brought you to Yamato's stream in the first place to come in as a raider? The best kind of convert to the old hammer style of things is somebody who never experienced it and can still recognise it as being worthy of attention. I do make it quite clear to people that whilst I love this, I don't argue the fact that sculpting has got better. It has got better. It's fantastic. It's amazing. What people are churning out now, models-wise, is just utterly incredible. But it's not my style. It's not what brought me into the hobby. Not what I first started. What attracted me to it. It was the weirdness, the wonderfulness of these models, rather than the fact that everything was super cool and grimdark. It was the fact that not an awful lot of it was grimdark. It was cyberpunky. It was out there. It was crazy. So yeah, I like it, but I don't hold any misconceptions that everything old is better. But that being said, it just has such a charm for me. Right. Now, I do need to do a little bit of forward thinking about how and where I'm going to place colour on this model. Because it's not very small contingent. Yeah. Oh no, that's very cool. Very cool. And it's good that you're supporting your mate especially if you know them in real life. When you say Oss, is that Australia or is that Austria? Which would put you at about yowzers. What? 3, 4 in the morning? Ah, okay. The actual Australia part of Australia, right? Not the just any other European country, just hotter kind of Australia. I'm glad that Australians are the ones to make that distinction to us regular folk. That's not a knife, Australia. I'm glad that you still are happy to own Crocodile Dundee. It's one of those franchises where, you know, you'd think oh no, not somebody else trotting out the Crocodile Dundee jokes again. But Aussies are not like that. They're like, no, we're the ones. We're going to own this. We unleashed that on the world. We're going to own it. We're going to keep it. It's ours. The whole world of the 80s and 90s is going away as the rest of the world, you know, modernizes around us. We can't cling to the past. That world wouldn't have functioned with everything that we have now anyway. Perhaps it's better to just remember it in terms of happy memories rather than, you know, dwell on it. Yeah, I mean, Cornwall isn't okay. You know, Cornwall is probably the worst possible example because, I mean, it is very, very stuck in the past in Cornwall. In a good way. I adore Cornwall. It's such a beautiful part of the country, but it's got some incredibly serious problems that generations of councils and government and people in charge of things have just sort of slept upon. I'm from East Anglia. the sort of just above London bit. In fact, that's not a bad description of it. Not London, but pretty close to it. And yeah, Cornwall has real issues coming up in its future. It's got an ageing population, and there are no jobs in Cornwall. It's weird. You would think that, you know, it would be just like any other place in the country, but it's not. There's a real sort of drastic lack of things happening there. Yeah, it's many a I say many a happy holiday there. There's only so many holidays that you can have when you're 18 years old and pissed out of your nut on a campsite, i.e. one when you were 18. That's it. But I did try and recreate it a couple of times. Do need to be quite careful with this coat here of dry brushing, because quite large areas don't react brilliantly to large amounts of dry brushing. It's much like the contrast paints themselves. When you get large areas of them, you end up with sort of staining and coffee marks and that sort of thing. Well, when you're dry brushing, you end up with this sort of quite stippled texture, which I'm not adverse to, because I was maybe on the vehicles planning to do something with the blue, but depends on what you mean by go south. Cornwall has problems. It will take generations before they come to fruition. You know, but they are in for a world of hurt if they don't do something. All it needs is the right council to come in and make the right changes. But you know, it's like anywhere in the world. We keep electing the same bloody politicians and expecting something different. You know, which is the very definition of insanity. Oh God, I sound like I'm pitching for reform. No, stop. No more politics talk. That's as far as we go on this channel. No, I've had conversations about politics with lots of different people over the years, and none of them are good conversations. It doesn't matter, you know, what your thoughts are. Somebody else's thoughts will be different, and you'll just end up having an argument. So I just tend to avoid the politics conversation unless I'm in a safe space, like having the conversation with my boss. He drives that because he thinks that he's incredibly funny when it comes to political insight. Right. Okay, that is our War Walker base coat. I'm not going to do any more models because I want to give that brush another rinse because it is starting to go a bit claggy. It's quite a lot of dry brushing on a model like that. It's hard to imagine just how much without I have built my own tables before, yeah. The construction and DIY is very much more a job rather than hobby, even though DIY shouldn't be considered a job. But yeah, you either already agree or there's an argument, yeah. But at least there's cool max, yeah. Yeah, I have built my own gaming tables before. They're generally a massive waste of time, I find. Because there are so many places out there where you can go and use their tables that are purposely built for it, and you don't end up having to have something pushed up against the wall of the kitchen for the 6 months in between games with your wife moaning at you. There's a little bit of an insight there. I'm just going to go and rinse out my brush, and I will be back with you guys in a moment. Oh, sorry. Right, there we go. No, I love the idea of building my own tables, but I generally find it's a bit of a waste of time because you just don't get to make use of them. I'm really lucky in that where we are, we've got a friendly local game store. The guy is fantastic. He has put in we're probably pushing on 2 decades now that he's been working on that little shop of his. And this is the second location that he's in, and he's got a nice shop area downstairs, including tuck shop and bits and pieces, and then upstairs on the mezzanine he's got a huge gaming area with purpose-built terrain and all the rest. He's started up as part of his business. He manufactures MDF terrain himself and sells it online. It's actually quite a relatively well-known brand. If you want to game, go there rather than making your own stuff. One, you support a local business. It costs a bit, but everything costs a bit these days. But you'll just have so much better time than if you're trying to do it at home, because at home you're never going to have that range of terrain and scenery and all the rest of it. So yeah, right. looking at our boy here. Ooh. Now I'd like to try and keep the equipment in the bone colour. So the weapons will be bone coloured. They've come out quite nicely actually. Each one has an underside and an upper side. So unfortunately these will basically be limited to going on the War Walkers, because that's going to look a bit weird if you put that on a weapons platform. But it does help that I've got a whole box of other models, including a whole bunch more heavy weapons that we can use. So in the same vein as the weapons platform, I think these should be yellow along with his helmet. His armour is going to be blue. All of this support mechanism I think should be bone colour, because that's all machinery and technical. And then I think the rest of it, apart from the hooves, I think the hooves should be yellow as well. So all the rest of this in blue, the hooves and that in yellow, all of that in blue. This bit here, I think that should probably be blue. Yeah, okay. Seems reasonable. Yeah, okay. We're agreed. Excellent. Let's break out some more blue in that case. I'm very much looking forward to seeing if we can pull this army off, because as I say, it has been an army that is now 30 years in the making, and no, I didn't pin this. I just chucked a shitload of super glue at it and crossed my fingers, basically. That is often my my mechanism for doing modelling, is yeah, see what happens. And we do appear to have pulled it off. It's quite large sockets on these. They are quite sturdy. As I say, the sockets in there and the pegs are actually quite large. So they do go together quite easily, which is a good thing, I guess. Now, I don't know whether to keep these cables and what have you in the bone colour, or whether to paint it all in and then come back and pick out areas in silver. Although I think that would be introducing silver for the first time, and I don't really like the idea. I kind of wanted to do the whole army without any metallics, which would be quite an achievement, because obviously that sort of idea and technique wasn't introduced until much sort of later with these models. So some of these are sort of almost designed to look very metal. Ah, hang on, we were toying with this, weren't we? Now, what do we reckon? Will that go in, or is that too big? Oh my god, it does, but I don't know whether that is that safe? I mean, it feels quite, yeah, okay. I'm going to risk it for a biscuit.
Lady, feel the beat. Ooh yeah. Skanking shoes on your dancing feet. Bass is popping, horns so tight. Funky groove gonna rock all night. Skank it up, get down, don't stop. Oh, feel that rhythm, let your body drop. Scat meets funk in a bouncy ride. Let the brass take you to the other side.
So the painting of this one is mostly, by the looks of it, going to be throw paint at it
Drums hit heavy, make the people pounce.
and hope for the best. I do wish
Funky delight.
that I had both set it up and perfected the use of my airbrush, because I feel that might have come in handy for a model like this. I could have probably,
Let the brass play.
you know, contrast base coated the whole thing in about 8 seconds.
Let's ride this wave. Feel the rhythm climb.
But then we would have lost the memories we make along the way. Ah, shit.
Scat meets funk in a bouncy ride. Let the brass take you to the other side. Scat funk fusion, it's a 90s dream. We're grooving hard, riding that brassy stream. So move it, shake it, let the music flow. Skanking and grooving wherever you go.
I mean, before I started this stream, the music I selected on YouTube was supposed to be a sort of 90s remix kind of, and this sounds like it was lifted straight from the 70s, so I don't know quite what's going there. I think one thing I have realised while using contrast paints is when everyone switched around about 3rd edition to black base coats, it did quite handily eliminate the problem of leaving massive areas of undercoat showing. Because when you're leaving a massive area of white, it's a problem. When you're leaving a massive area of black, nobody notices it.
Turn up the amp, let the bass line roll. Feel the upstrokes come, let them capture your soul.
That's it, there we go. I've come out and said it. The whole purpose of Grimdark
In a plea for unity.
was because the studio painters were really, really lazy and they left loads of areas of black undercoat.
Skanking through the years. Keep it alive with the rhythm in our feet.
Which, believe it or not, is not the craziest story I've heard about the laziness of studio painters, specifically the Games Workshop. I know from tales of several people who used to work there that there were certain very iconic
Dance to the sound of the
models that appeared in White Dwarf, various other publications, that were only painted from one side. So the back of them is unpainted.
language of sky and it'll never skanking through the years. So we keep it alive with the rhythm in our feet.
And I believe most of those miniatures ended up going with Brian Ansell to the Foundry. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that is almost. I'm pretty sure that is confirmed. I have it from people who used to work at Games Workshop in that time period, that they weren't allowed to mention the fact that there were certain of the models that were only painted on one side.
We were sparks in a midnight storm, fighting flames just to keep us warm. Ashes fell, but we held on tight. Through the chaos, we burned so bright. Heart in a riot, screaming loud. No regrets, we're lost in the crowd. Break the chains.
Okay, that's not looking too bad. I'm figuring I need to be very careful in order to make any pooling run to where I want it to run rather than where it naturally wants to go, if that makes sense. So by pulling it all downwards nice and smoothly, hopefully we can do without, you know, the big coffee stained patches. I don't think it was particularly the red shirts that got to determine that, but
We're the anthem they can't erase. Ink on the walls of a fleeting place. Scream it out, let the echoes fly. We're the thunder under the sky.
no, but I do think that would be quite a cool story of, you know, somebody's working under a deadline and they can't, you know, they know they're not going to get the model finished and what have you, so they just go, okay, just paint the back of it, or just paint the front of it. We'll put it in, and maybe you can get round to painting it when you've freed up some time. I think that's brilliant. It's weird. It is weird working with metal again, and one of the main reasons is that I don't believe that they ever intended contrast paints to be used with janky old metal models, because, you know, it is undeniable they are a bit janky. There's a lot of surface imperfections and things like that that don't necessarily react well to the paint style of contrast. But for the heft and feel of it, you can't beat working with metal models. I think that they are the sort of, I don't feel that plastic models have the same heft and feel to them. Try not to let any staining, which is where we get a big clump of the contrast together. Try and avoid that if possible. Now, what are we going to do here? Are we going to do just the front claw? Or are we going to do the whole foot? I think probably just the front claw. Or maybe the front claw and the back claw. I think that'll work. Just the front claw and the back claw with all of that bit there in the blue. There we go. Right. That's a very, very blue. I promised I would stop singing. So I'm not going to sing. I'm not going to do the song. You all know what the song is that I'm planning to sing, but I'm not going to do it. I must resist. There we go. Right. No, not doing it. Right, so we are going to do cables in bone. Oh no, I forgot to do the little man. Shit. How are we doing for time? Oh, it's 5 o'clock already. Bloody hell. One of the nice things about working on a model on stream is quite often you'll look at the camera and you'll see a bit of the model that you couldn't see and you go, shit, I missed a bit, bollocks. So I've just noticed that I've missed a little bit in there. You see that bit? Tiny little bit. And a tiny bit there as well, just in there, and then obviously all of that bit on him. So yeah, okay, fucked up, missed that guy. Ow, crap. It's all right, it's all right. That will come out in the wash. Trust the process.
We're not afraid of the fallout sound. We're the thunder that shakes the ground. No apologies, no looking back. We're the wolves leading the pack. Hey, hey, raise your fist up high. Scream it out, let the sparks ignite. We're the fire burning through the lies. Rebels cry, yeah. Rebels cry.
Yep, I know. I just did it again. I touched the blue. Touched the blue. And if I try and feather it in, it's just going to look poor. Because it will create that sort of coffee stain. However, it doesn't so much matter because we are going to come along and we are going to cover it all in McCrag blue afterwards. So it is not 100% essential that we get it to look perfect on one pass, because there will be multiple attempts on the blue, multiple passes with different colours and what have you. Not to say, you know, just slap it on willy-nilly, but, you know, just slap it on willy-nilly. Oh, I'm just slipping off camera there. Remind me to see about sorting out that emote for get back on stream. You stay on target. Right, how much of this is finger, which is a phrase I never thought I'd say again.
They tell us to hush, keep our voices down.
Is this just on repeat?
Fire that can burn this town. The system's broken, but they don't care. We're the ones rising.
There we go. That'll do for now. Right. Got some legs to do, and then this guy is done. Thank you very much, Stimhead. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you in the chat. It's been really nice to actually chat away with somebody who has some idea of the joys of the old hobby. You are more than welcome to drop back whenever you like, and I appreciate you coming here, and I appreciate the follow. So yeah, by all means. If you want to stay abreast of the project, do check out the Instagram and the Discord down below, as both of those will be getting updates from now as we progress this one. Take care, have a lovely evening, what's left of it for you, because I don't think there's very much of it being in Australia. And happy Tuesday for you, that is. Right. There we go, folks. That's another blue off the list. There we go. Look, another blue done with weapons. I say the blue's done. The blue isn't done. The blue is quite a long way off of done, to be fair. Yeah, I'm probably just going to glue those in rather than see about magnetising them. Yeah. Actually, I'm going to rinse that out properly again. So please do bear with me for another short moment. We are going to look at a combat squad of, or a combat, it's not a combat squad, is it, for Guardians? Guardians don't have combat squads, but a small portion of our Guardian squad when I come back. Or do I just go full tilt and do the whole thing? We will see. I'll be back in just a moment, folks. Hey there, folks. Thank you for sticking with us. Apologies for the dead air. I was just finalising the evening schedule with the good lady wife. I'm going to stream through till 6 o'clock. You've got me for nearly another whole hour. So. And then that will give me a nice opportunity for dinner and nice bath, get ready for work in the morning after a long old bank holiday weekend. So we're back to the same format for these guys, which is to splurge them with white. And then we can go ahead and put some blue on them. To be honest with you, we are now actually only mere steps away from having the army base coated in blue, which is a real nice step for me. Obviously, there's a whole load more stuff to do with them, but then once they're in blue, they look like that they are on their way to something, and we can then just chunk out the next colours as necessary. So we are going to go back to our super boring process of painting white, dry brushing white onto very old models. You know. If any of you are wondering what I do with these bases here, they are just for me to wick off extra paint off of my dry brush, because otherwise you end up, if you use something like a paper towel, it doesn't dry the brush, it dries the paint that's on it, if that makes any form of sense. I know it probably sounds like I'm trying to be technical, but it does. It dries the paint on the brush, and then you end up with a really chalky texture when you dry brush it off. Whereas if you dry brush onto an old base or something like that, or a, God forbid, a texture palette, which they sell now, it's not so much about they try and pitch it as being able to tell what your dry brushing is going to come out like. Well, you don't need to know what your dry brushing is going to come out like. What you need to do is you need to react to how your dry brushing is coming out. But with one of these, you can make it so that your dry brushing doesn't come out chalky and, as weird as it sounds, dry, considering the aim is to dry brush. Oh dear, I've got a proper tickle in my throat today. I don't think it helped being in the cinema, where they wait until everybody's sat down, and then they just absolutely crank the air conditioning up to the point where half of the people in there were then putting on jumpers and hoodies and what have you. I was like, okay, we turned a perfectly nice day into something horrible, so thanks for that. La, 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 la. Right, so this will be, what have we got? When this squad is undercoated, it will just leave us with the Viper, which I am kind of nervous about, because the Viper is lovely and swoopy shaped, and from prior experience, you know, everyone talks about, oh, you know, it's difficult to do large areas of armour and all the rest of it. It's not just large areas of armour, it's extremely flat or swoopy shaped. Those two are the problem ones. You know, the flat panels of a Rhino are not going to take contrast very well, and I'm pretty sure that the swoopy shaped panels of a Viper are not going to take it very well. It doesn't really matter because we're going over them with that Macragge blue. But I'm just a bit worried that it's going to be a bit too stained, if you know what I mean. Going to have too much of that coffee stain effect, which we're trying like all possible to avoid. These guys are very cool, aren't they? These Catapult Guardians. But the mesh armor on his feet actually run underneath the armor plate, so he's actually got like chainmail on his feet, which is a very, very cool effect. You notice little things about these old models all the time, which I shouldn't do, really. They've been in my collection for 30 years. I should be familiar with every aspect of them by now, but okay, nearly done with this squad. We're over halfway through, and yeah. I'd never actually realised quite how cybernetic this guy's face actually looks. I'll show you what I mean in a moment. He's got an awful lot of like cyberpunk style stuff, which is very much the case of these old models. I mean, punk is the exact word for them. With the hair, the garb, the flared trousers, and you know, the wackiness. But this guy on his face is something else. I hadn't really noticed how pronounced the effect was. Okay. What it achieves is, for the type of paint that I have, that I predominantly use for the blue and what have you, is something called contrast paint. It's designed to go over a flat spray of white, bone colour or grey. What I do is I base coat the models with a zenithal spray. So I paint them all black, I spray them all black first, then I zenithal spray them from above with a grey primer, and you end up with this effect where you have the grey on the top, but underneath there's very little of it. I then come along with the dry brushing, and the extra white on the model then helps the contrast paint. It basically, the contrast paint is formulated so that it sits into recesses and pulls itself away from peaks to provide high contrast in one color application. Well, if it's already working over a peak that is white rather than grey, and the recesses are black and the mid colours are grey, the contrast effect is heightened. It's sort of, you're sort of double dipping into the contrast effect by prepping the model in a way that enhances what it can achieve. Hope that sort of makes sense. You can achieve a similar effect with regular non-contrast paints, in that the thinner you make them, the more the zenithal on the undercoat will show through. So if you paint it with a couple of very thin coats, you will get a bit of a bleed through from the undercoat. So if you've undercoated it and primed it zenithally, you will get some of that effect show through. So it's a worthwhile technique even if you haven't got or want to use contrast paints. Because you're now wanting to have a look at painting your own miniatures, aren't you? There's a lot to learn, but it is best to learn it yourself. Take tips and tricks and hints and what have you off of strangers on the internet or however you want to do it, but the best way is to learn yourself as you're doing it. But just remember, you don't need fancy Games Workshop paints. You don't need to go out and buy anything like that. Even sort of basic craft paints can do in a push. It's just you'll find that they don't have very much pigment in them. I've used sort of the works basic craft acrylic paints before. They do work if you're willing to put the time in with them and spend, putting 8 to 10 coats on, because their pigment isn't very much. Yeah, I mean, there's countless videos, communities, websites out there teaching you how to paint miniatures and models. Look at what we're on right now. You know, Twitch is there. It's got, like, I don't know how many people are streaming this afternoon, but there's somewhere in the region of 500 to 800 people watching most evenings. What are we at today? Ah, there you go. You got 1,100 people watching. No idea how many people are streaming. But yeah, it's there's so many bits and pieces out there for you to learn how to do it. What it all boils down to is just learning from your own mistakes. Just going, oh, okay, I see what I did wrong there, because you will see what you did wrong quite quickly. It's very easy to spot where you've messed up when you're painting a miniature. So it's just a case of learning to do that, really. And once you do, you'll have a great time. You'll have a blast, and you'll start to develop your own skills and what have you, and go from there. Right. Especially if you have magnification. Yes. I don't. I probably should consider getting magnification now. My eyes are yeah, I should probably consider magnification now. My eyes are getting to a stage where I wear contact lenses, and for a few years it was like, oh, my prescription is going down, my prescription is going down, my prescription is going down. And I was like, oh, maybe my vision's correcting itself. And my optician put me firmly in my place when he went, no, happens to everyone. It'll go like that, and then it will fuck up for you. I'm like, cheers, bud. Thanks for that. So yeah, I should probably start looking at investing in some form of magnification. How to do this up close better. Yeah, we were just starting to be friends as well, and then he came out with that, and I was like, you know, you and me, bud, we're done, we're finished. I don't think he seemed that bothered, if I'm honest with you. And I still had to pay him as well. Right, let's get these guys done. I reckon we can just about crack these ones out in the time that we have left to us. As I said, we'll be going to 6, which for me will be quite a long stream. 3.5 hours is more than what I normally do. However, I have been noticing when I do stream for longer, I know a lot of places actually say that works with the metrics that Twitch uses, that the longer you stream, the more likely you are to pick up residual viewers. That gets you to the top of whatever channel, or closer to the top, and that makes you more likely to pick up new viewers, and it's like, oh god, but I only have 2 hours of an evening. I can't really do much more. So on occasion, I think it would be quite good to do a longer stream, even if it's just for a couple of hours more, or an hour more, or something like that. Oh, this guy's got a fantastic amount of chainmail on him. Love that. Now, I am a little bit unsure about how to do the chainmail. I don't know. I don't know whether the chainmail should be metal. Yeah. I might possibly try that over the weekends at times, because unfortunately I can't do it during the week, what with having a job that takes up an extraordinary amount of my mental bandwidth as well as time, because it is quite a responsible job that I do in the real world. So I can't devote additional time to it during the week, that's for sure. But at the weekends, yeah, perhaps changing it up and doing a daytime stream or a morning stream. Okay, well, I'm sorry to hear that, but you know, at least it gives you time to perfect when you want to go live. Silver linings and all that. I think part of it is the fact that Twitch is, whilst there are obviously quite a lot of people on from places like the UK and Europe, it is still primarily an American-based platform. And so obviously our weird yeah, I can absolutely imagine that our weird European schedules just don't sort of always fit in. So what sort of work did you do prior to unemployment, Beagle, if you don't mind me asking? Obviously, tell me to mind my own if... okay, fair enough. That's very cool. I've... just effectively been railroaded a little bit into trying to work out the best steps forward for our company when it comes to oh, that's a shame, man. 10 years is a long time, and probably kind of brutal to hear it from them as well. But yeah, the boss has asked me if I wouldn't mind coming up with a bit of a development plan for us when it comes to the website, the search engine optimization, you know, things like that. And I'm like, yes, sure, I'll have a look at that, because I'm the only person there under the age of 50, and that seems okay. Luckily for me, not so much for my brother, but my brother is basically a web developer. He does a lot of he's employed at it, and he also does a lot of freelance stuff. So yeah, I'll take a little bit of advice from him, try and get him some work out of it, and then goes back to my boss and say, yeah, you need to pay someone to do this. Because unfortunately, whilst I am quite a good, if I say so myself, contracts manager, I am not a web developer. I have said it before on this channel. I have said it before, and I will probably say it again, but man, that blue is just amazing. It is such a gorgeous shade of blue. I know the camera does sort of wash it out a little bit, but it's just got so many hints of colour going on in there. It's not just blue, it's not a pale blue, it's got greens, it's got, oh, it's just so alive with colour, that one. And again, this is where I kind of, sort of, maybe regret gluing the bases down before I painted them. But also at the same time, it's quite good. It sort of sees the model in the terrain around it rather than plonked down on top of it, almost. Because his foot there is sinking into that pile of dirt. And he's come up with dirt on his boot on that side, which is maybe not the best for the perfectionists amongst you, and it will probably be a bit of a pain when it comes to painting them, painting the bases, that is. But we'll work our way up to that. Right, how are we doing? We're going to do these. Oh, lots and lots of chain. Look at those gloves. They're fantastic. Chainmail gloves. Chainmail gloves, chainmail boots. This guy is probably going to be the most uncomfortable guardian you could possibly imagine. Imagine wearing chainmail gloves and chainmail boots. I imagine it would be bad enough on that bit behind the knees when you try and crouch down to avoid taking a bolt around, and then you're like, oh, crunch, you catch the chainmail in the hinge of your knee. Yeah, I mean, it's not supposed to be actual chainmail in the lore. It's supposed to be a kind of weird futuristic thermoplastic. But still, I think that's... Yeah, obviously alien knees and stuff are not susceptible to it. Yes. It's fine, I can suspend my disbelief. My immersion. Broke my immersion. Okay. Not actually a huge amount of blue on that model, which is kind of cool. Makes a bit of a change from some of the others in the squad. Namely these guys who are all about that blue. Here we go. He's all about that blue. About that blue. No yellow. So obviously these guys have had a slight bit of converting done. Not by me. These were actually done by my dad before he passed away. I wasn't actually aware that he'd done this, but he's obviously decided that he didn't like the modern junk new shuriken catapults either, and wanted to add these ones in. And what he's done is they have had shuriken catapults from the Eldar weapons sprue added, and he's cut away the original weapon, or in this one's case he's cut away the original right arm that was holding on to it, and replaced it with a new right arm, a separate weapon, and then the original left hand has been converted to hold the new gun, which has repositioned the model and put it in a really awkward spot for painting, if I'm honest with you, but we'll get by, we'll make it work, we'll figure it all out. But it's ended up with this kind of cool variation on the regular ones, and fittingly enough brought it back a little bit more into the realms of second edition, not legal, second edition current, period correct, that's what the term that I'm after. So yeah, I don't think that was his intention. I think he just wanted to do some stuff with them. But what I did realise is that the models that he's done it on were the second Warhammer models box that I ever bought. I bought a 5-man squad of these Guardians, armed with las guns, and yeah, I realised they're the ones that he chopped up when I'd left my Warhammer collection at home. He chopped them up and converted them to carry these shuriken catapults, which I thought was quite a nice touch. In the years that I spent away from home after, you know, learning that the world of Warhammer and what have you weren't actually that relevant to real life and meeting girls and growing up a bit, I basically sort of abandoned the hobby for quite some time, and I left it all at home though, and in that interim he picked up an awful lot of the hobby. He's a massive collector of things, and he decided that he was going to collect more Warhammer than I had ever seen. He spent a hell of a lot of money on it, and it was quite a surprise to me when he passed away, and I saw just how much he had in his collection, and I'm like, okay. And unfortunately, when he passed away, we were unable to keep most of it because it was, I mean, honestly, it was an unbelievable amount of stuff, and we had to get rid of most of it. And I ended up sort of joining various Facebook groups and what have you, and getting rid of it really, really cheap, just to see that somebody out there was going to enjoy it rather than it going to scalpers and what have you. So I sort of kind of made sure that, you know, the people that I sold it to and what have you were didn't come with much baggage and history of you know, trawling the groups and buying up collections and what have you. I don't know, it just seemed the right sort of thing to do, to try and sell it on cheap rather than make a whole load of money out of it, and see that somebody else was going to actually enjoy it as he had. So yeah, it's a bit sad, but I'll still find things occasionally like these Guardians that make me smile. How are we doing for time? Oh, we are not going to get these guys finished. It is unfortunate, but there's just too many of them. They keep coming. These Guardians are everywhere. I'm going to do the captain, the sergeant, whatever you want to call him. Technically, he was a captain. Or a lieutenant, can't remember. This is one of the Rogue Trader era models, and these guys were actually like named characters of the Eldar army during Rogue Trader. I can't remember what this one was called. I mean, it would have been something ridiculously stupid like Elfman Sword Hand, because that's, you know, how Games Workshop did it back then. And I believe they nope, not going to say that, won't go there. Just stop myself before I said something. Yeah, so he was a captain. I'm sure it was a captain. I'm gonna look this up before the next stream so that I can tell you exactly what rank and what his name was. Yeah, I mean, it's descriptive. It is a descriptive naming convention. Yeah, I mean, it gives you all the information that you need about his character, his backstory, his motivation. It gives you everything. Right, okay. Now, folks, I am going to, as I just finished this model, start the search for someone to raid out on, because it's been a nice little stream. There's a couple of you here, and we're just gonna drop you guys onto somebody else. I pretty much have to shoot, so if I do have to go, please do tell whoever I lumber you upon that I'm not being rude. Oh, that blue. I do love that blue. I mean, it's not the right blue for the army, but I do love it nonetheless. That's why we end up having to do like other colours over the top of it, but it is still a lovely blue. Yeah, I mean, it could be cerulean. I would just go with that's a lovely blue. But you know, if we have to put names to everything, then yeah, let's go with that. I think the problem with definitive names of shades is that there's no definitive colour to match up with those names. So anybody can call something cerulean. And it's only once they started bringing in things like charts and ISO numbers and things like that that it became a thing. RAL colours. That's where it actually started to be a thing, that colours could be the same for different manufacturers and different producers and what have you. but even then, it's very difficult, because if you view a color on a device rather than like printed, it will always look different, and dependent upon what you print it on, those colors, whilst they might be the same, might be the same paint, might be the same printing ink or what have you. If you print it on a different surface, it will come out a different color. Colors are weird. They're very, very finicky things, and they don't like to be missed a bit. Look, I've missed a bit under his arm there. I can't believe it. God damn it. Never mind. Yeah. Colours are a weird thing, but we'll let him off. Look, I've missed another bit. Look, I've missed his groin guard. Anyway, as I say, folks, I would like to throw you guys to somebody else. So I'm just going to have a very, very quick look at who we've got. It also falls apart under our fallible human eye. Disagrees between pink and light red. Yeah, true enough. Let's have a little look at I'm going to raid out on somebody who I haven't done in a little while. In fact, I'm going to raid out on somebody that we haven't raided out on before. So please do bear with me a moment, and we're going to go with Studio Boneless. So folks, I do appreciate everybody who has been with us. Take care of yourselves, and we will see you again soon.
Enough wealth that you don't need to farm your land. Having lawns stems from yeah, because trust me, back in the day, if you had land or if you had a little burgage, you're not